Video title: Caught on Cam, Miles Morales' awkward spider debut. The air in Brooklyn hummed with the usual late afternoon rhythm, a symphony of distant sirens, chatter from stoops, and the ever-present thrum of city life. For Miles Morales, however, that particular afternoon felt less like a symphony and more like a chaotic, out-of-tune drum solo played inside his chest. He was new to this, painfully new. The suit, still a little stiff, clung to him, a symbol of a legacy he wasn't quite sure how to uphold. He'd seen the original Spider-Man, of course, a blur of red and blue, graceful, impossibly agile. Miles, at this point, was mostly just awkward. He was still figuring out the web shooters, still getting a feel for the heightened senses that now bombarded him. His heart hammered a frantic beat against his ribs, a constant reminder of the immense shoes he was attempting to fill. He just swung, or rather lumbered, from one rooftop to another, a feat that felt more like a desperate scramble than any heroic maneuver. Then he saw it, a glint of metal, a scuffle in a dimly lit alley below, a mugging. Two figures, one clearly the aggressor, pushing an older man against a grimy brick wall, demanding his wallet. Instinct, raw and untamed, took over. This was it, his moment. He dropped, not with the fluid grace of a seasoned hero, but more like a falling brick wrapped in spandex. He aimed a web a little too high, then another a little too wide. One managed to snag the mugger's arm, pulling him off balance, but not quite incapacitating him. The other web splattered harmlessly against a dumpster. The whole scene was messy, clumsy, certainly not the dramatic, decisive intervention he'd envisioned. The mugger, momentarily startled, actually tripped over his own feet more than Miles' webbing. It was effective in a sort of bumbling way, but profoundly inelegant. The victim, shaken but safe, quickly scurried away. As Miles stood there, a nascent hero struggling to regain his composure amidst the discarded pizza boxes and faint smell of refuse, he caught a flicker of movement. From across the street, near a hot dog stand, stood a young woman holding up a phone, clearly recording the entire ungraceful spectacle. It was Betty Brant, a determined young reporter with a keen eye for a story and an even keener instinct for something newsworthy. Miles's stomach lurched. He hadn't just fumbled his first real save, he'd done it on camera. His heart sank, a heavy stone in his chest. He mumbled a quiet, "Oh man," to himself, before clumsily trying to web swing away, undoubtedly providing even more unflattering footage. The next morning, the evidence of his debut was plastered across every screen, narrated by the booming, indignant voice of J. Jonah Jameson. "And there you have it, folks," Jameson thundered, his face a grimace of righteous fury on the Daily Bugle's news channel. The footage, clearly shot by Betty Brant, played on a loop. The awkward descent, the flailing webs, the mugger tripping over himself. It wasn't a triumphant entry onto the heroic stage, it was a blooper reel. Jameson's tirade was relentless. This new individual in the Spider-Man costume, a mockery, an imposter. Look at this amateur hour. Is this what our city deserves? A clumsy, inexperienced menace who can barely land a punch, let alone a web? The words, sharp and cutting, pierced through Miles. He watched the broadcast alone in his room, the glowing screen reflecting the shame on his face. This wasn't just a bad review, it was a public declaration of his inadequacy, a stark and brutal unveiling of his inexperience for all of New York to see. For Peter Parker, his early days as Spider-Man, while certainly fraught with trial and error, were often marked by a certain inherent confidence, a quick wit that masked his own insecurities. He faced challenges, undoubtedly, but his early public persona was one of a quick-thinking, if sometimes reckless, vigilante. Miles, on the other hand, was immediately exposed as raw, unpolished, and frankly, a bit of a mess. He didn't have Peter's years of quiet practice, honing his skills in secret. He was thrust into the spotlight, still figuring out how to crawl, let alone swing. This awkward debut underscored the immense, relatable challenges of a young hero learning on the job.
It wasn't just about mastering his powers, it was about navigating the crushing weight of public scrutiny, the immediate judgment that came with stepping into such an iconic role. The incident highlighted his inexperience, yes, but it also laid bare his vulnerability, his very human struggle to live up to an impossible ideal. Yet, this stumbling start was, in its own way, foundational. It taught Miles early on that heroism wasn't always about grand, perfect gestures. Sometimes it's about showing up, even when you're not ready, and learning from every clumsy mistake. It forged a resilience within him, a quiet determination to improve, to earn the mask he wore. He wouldn't just inherit the mantle of Spider-Man, he would redefine what it meant, not through flawless heroism, but through persistent, often messy growth. His journey, unlike Peter's, began not with a confident leap, but with a highly public, utterly unforgettable stumble, forever cementing his path as the hero who truly learned by doing. This initial, very public fumble wasn't the end of Miles's story. It was merely the chaotic, relatable beginning of a legend still being written. It taught him the valuable lesson that true heroism isn't about avoiding mistakes, but about picking yourself up, dusting off the embarrassment, and trying again, even when the whole world is watching. What are your thoughts on Miles's uniquely awkward introduction to the world? Did his fumbling debut make him feel more relatable to you? Share your reflections in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through a hero's humble beginnings, please consider giving us a like and following for more stories from the extraordinary lives of our favorite characters. Until next time, keep swinging, no matter how clumsy the start.